So I have no gavel. I'll do it like this. So, oh,
I got your attention.
let's see. So I'm going to begin tonight by welcoming everybody to our very first meeting of 2025, the El Dorado Hills Area Planning Advisory Committee. I'm the chair, John Davey. Vice Chair John Raslier. I'm looking for Vice Chair Brooke Washburn. She might be with us virtually later. Secretary Bill Jamaica, our new member of our executive committee this year. Thank you, Bill. And then Vice Chair Tim White is under the weather tonight, and he has a big trip starting next week, so he's resting. So I want to thank everybody again for coming out early in January again. The very first thing we do is we provide an opportunity. I'm going to get through this. Call the meeting in order. We're going to adopt our meeting agenda if there's no objection up here.
No objection.
No changes. And then when I want to remind everybody, I got to do some driving here while I'm talking. There we go. Throw that up there. Yes. So, so public comment is what we start the meeting with. This is for things that aren't on our agenda tonight. So if you have something that you need to ask, share, point out, we won't solve anything tonight, but we're always ready to listen. We provide 3 minutes to every speaker for matters that aren't on the agenda when we start the meeting. But if there's something on the agenda you want to comment on, we ask that you wait until we get to that topic. So I'll go look around the room. Are there any public comments for things not on the agenda tonight? Okay. And while we're talking about public comment, these microphones are not for the room, they're for our Zoom recording, and we're grateful the fire department is letting us use their equipment at no cost. So we always appreciate that. The fire department is very engaged in supporting the community. But if you're going to make a comment, we have a microphone up on this microphone stand for people in the public if they want to come up. And we just ask that if you have a comment that you actually use the microphone so we get it recorded and then we can hear it and the community can watch it later. So is there anybody online looking to make comments? I don't see any hands going up. Moving along. We remind everybody, if you live in El Dorado Hills, you're a member of APAC. You just have to live here, you're a member. If you want to be a voting member, so you can vote for clowns that sit up here or on specific projects, our reviews and our findings, then all you have to do is volunteer to work on a project review subcommittee or an ad hoc committee. And once you do that, you're qualified to be a voting member. And then, and I remind everybody, we can help you learn the way that we do it right now. You might have a better way to do it, and we'd like to hear about that too. So, moving forward, the very first opportunity we have tonight is supervisor communications. And District 1 Supervisor Greg Ferrero is here tonight, and Greg was sworn in yesterday, so congratulations. And Supervisor Turnbull can't be here tonight, but Bob Williams, our District 2 Planning Commissioner, has some information that he needs to share from Supervisor Turnbull. So if you're ready, Greg, thank you.
I am. Thank you. Day two.
It's all uphill. It's all uphill.
Yeah, right. Well, Happy New Year, everybody. I'm honored to be here. I'm obviously very humbled and honored to serve the county and District 1. Like we said, this is my second day. Yesterday was my first meeting, and I won't lie, it's proven to be a little overwhelming already. But like all good things, we get used to it, and I've been in positions like this before, and I'll ease into it and feel more comfortable for sure. John and George, they've been very involved in APAC, and but me moving forward, I want to be part of the audience. I'm not going to sit up here at the board. I'm not part of the board. I want to take these meetings as an opportunity to listen to the presenters and listen to the public, because I want to remain impartial, and I don't want it to appear that I'm part of a committee in El Dorado Hills that may or may not be in favor of a future development. So I intend on coming up, if you provide me the opportunity, come up, address the audience, and then I'll take my seat with the rest of you. And if I'm happy to move out, and if there's other questions and things like that, happy to have those questions out in the lobby, because I don't want to take up their time. These meetings go way
Too long, it's fair.
already, and I'm starting to ramble already. They're gonna give me the hook already.
No, we're too long.
So moving forward, and Cindy, who was John's assistant, has agreed to continue with me, and I'm very thankful for that. We're currently working on a web page. We're gonna send out messaging via Nextdoor. I'm on the fence about Facebook, and then probably host occasional town hall meetings where we bring in either DOT or maybe partner with you guys, and certainly public safety with the fire department, CHP, sheriff's department. If there's concerns that arise in El Dorado Hills, and create more of a town hall opportunity. I look forward to working with, there's some CSD board members here, and I look forward to working with you guys. There's some things I think we mutually want to accomplish, and I think that we already have a pretty good relationship, so I look forward to continuing that. And that's really about, like I said, day 2, I don't have an update. You probably all watched the board meetings in December, and there was a couple fairly controversial items that came up. One on TIF fees, and the second one was regarding ranch marketing. And I'll tell you right now, if I was a board member, I would have voted no for both of them. I think that the TIF fee issue should have been postponed. I think I should have been able to vote on it. I don't quite understand the calculation, the formula for creating that number for what that TIF fee should be for development. But I certainly don't think that the discrepancy between El Dorado Hills and the rest of the county is incredible. I think it's like 80% more than the rest of the county. And what I really think about is, let's say the custom home builder, a family wants to build a home in Serrano, wherever, and they're paying for it. It's not a developer. They don't have deep pockets, but they want to build a home. And how much more it's going to cost them to build a home here as it would if they wanted to shingle or further up the hill. And I just don't think that's fair. I'm a strong supporter of TIF fees. I think they should be paid. I mean, let's follow the measures, E and Y. I'd like them to be paid up front. I mean, in a perfect world, I want the infrastructure in place before we create more traffic impacts. But I think it's a little out of whack the way it currently is, and I'm not sure what's going to happen moving forward. I guess we can readdress it, look at it in a year. It may come up before that. I'm not sure. Also, the mapping I think was wrong with the 3 zones. That whole nexus study was, the whole intention of that study was to focus on future development. And there's a couple big projects, huge projects that are being proposed that they've already, the county already knows about them, and those should have been included. And both those projects intend to be in El Dorado Hills. They should be included in our zone. So we'll see what happens with that down the road. But then the ranch marketing thing, that item, I don't think we should have shotgunned the whole industry. I support ranch marketing. I don't know even if we have any in District 1 or the opportunities. No, okay. But what's that?
We have ranches and farms.
Okay.
Not part of it in District 1.
Yeah, but I support ranch marketing. But I think, and it kind of goes back to my law enforcement career. I don't believe in, if there's an issue with one, let's say winery or one venue, let's handle it with that individual. Okay, let's instill some penalties, restrict their activities, but let's not shotgun the whole industry if it's not affected. So that's all I have. I'm sure I'll have more for you next month. And if there's any questions, or if anyone wants to have a conversation, I'm happy to go out into the lobby.
That's awesome. You have a microphone nearby so we can.
There's one next to Cindy.
Just needs to be green.
It's green.
Good.
Chuck King. As it relates to the TIF fees, I didn't know what was going on, so I wasn't a part of it all. I know you weren't there and weren't part of the determination, but is there any consideration given then or now to grandfathering in those developments that are already underway? I can tell you personally, I've talked to people that it has affected their long-range plans for significant developments that are questioning whether or not they're even able to do it based on the new fees.
I don't know. I don't know if there, I didn't see anything. I mean, yeah, I didn't see anything. No, okay. Yeah. It just seemed extremely rushed. And that's just the residential development. Let's talk about the business development and the corporate development. And I'm disappointed that the economic development, the new commission that we formed, wasn't even in the room. And so I called in and asked that they postpone it. I thought it was going to be postponed. It didn't happen. So I haven't talked to any other supervisors about it. I've heard maybe some rumors that it might be brought up again. I don't know. It's not going to probably be, I'm not going to bring it up. But it might.
I have a question.
Oh, I better use this. You better.
Okay, Supervisor Hydol had a community council meeting. I know that you're not. What are you going to do to kind of replace that? Because that was a great idea, a community council.
Yeah, and I thought, I attended those meetings for a year and a half. And we have 38,000 people in this district. And there might have been 10 people in the room. And I don't know how many were on Zoom, maybe just as many. And I just didn't think that it was, after talking to some of the board members, didn't think it was a real good use of time, that it was as beneficial. So I'd rather share information on social media. And then, like I said, if there's an issue, safety issue or whatnot, then we can have a town hall meeting. John was the only one that did that in the county. I have counterparts, other supervisors in other counties, and John was the only one that did that I've talked to any supervisor in any county.
Yeah, and the reason why it was, the community council for the longest time was a community-driven council, not a supervisor-driven. But John was the chair of the community council, and so he was trying to align the community council with the strategic plan of the county. And as it changed, he changed community council. I know some people have asked, could a community group do it again? And I think if somebody wanted to do it and be organized and be consistent about it, that'd be a good opportunity for you to be able to bring in a special meeting. Or here, we're development focused, but I don't know that anybody's really prepared to go forward with that.
Yeah, I mean, the community council, council members who were all they were important groups, but the group didn't have any teeth.
Yeah.
You could vote on things, but what is that?
Oh, we didn't vote on anything.
Well, but I mean, it didn't have
Yeah.
it didn't have any teeth as far as county operations, and so, after talking to people, I didn't think it was as valuable. I didn't want to continue it. Now, maybe moving on down the road, might institute something similar, but for now, no.
You can jump up to this one if you want. Don't jump though. Don't really. I just figure speech.
So on the TIF fees, I have a suggestion. My understanding, according to the transportation element, that's supposed to be done based on developments of 5 units or more.
Mhm.
And I think I brought this up in the comments too. My concern is you brought up single-family home building. So if an individual wants to build a home, I don't believe they should have the same fee. And so I think that could be something to try to distinguish with the county and staff. And in fact, we had a case that went to the
Sheets.
Supreme
Yeah,
Court.
no, you're absolutely
Sheets,
right. Yeah.
right? So I think that it's kind of been bundled all together, but in reality, TIF was supposed to be for
Just for the
large developments,
or
5
more.
units or
Yeah.
more. So,
No, I agree with you. And to your point, we have the Austin case that we're yet to figure out how much we're gonna have to pay, and Sheets. And so to institute this new TIF policy, I think it was a little premature. I think we need to figure out how we're gonna adjudicate those cases before we move forward.
No hands up here. Thank you.
Thank you
for taking the
all
time
very much,
tonight.
and yeah. I'll just a reminder, and everybody knows, you see the devastation going on in LA.
Yeah.
Boy, I mean, that could happen here. I know we all have concrete roofs and stuff like that, but you know, it happened in Santa Rosa. It can happen, it's happening in LA. Just a grim reminder to be prepared, just have a plan, you know, think about what you would do, what you would grab. And so, I'm sure Chief Mike over there has a lot more to say about that, but it's a grim reminder. It's January. That stuff shouldn't be happening. So.
Can I grab it for 1 second while it's open mic? I just want to say
I'm not
hi.
moving back to Highland View.
I just want to say welcome. And yeah, congratulations. And yeah, looking forward to these next 4 years for good things to happen. How many ever years it is, but you just is this working?
As long as it's green.
So just and my voice carries, so I could do it without, just what you were saying, spot on. And why I came tonight, the topic is not on the agenda, but Green Valley Road is my passion. And that is a parallel capacity road. It's the only one we have in El Dorado County. When we have urgencies or Highway 50 closures or anything like that, that gets packed. And the more development we're seeing along Bass Lake, all the developments, the proposed other generations, these other proposed projects, we're going to get situations just like what's happening down in Palisades. I've got 2 sisters evacuating, one down at Redondo Beach, watching it closely. So I know it very well. And those roads are theirs. That's why they abandoned all the cars. I see that Green Valley Road. I'm just asking to please, if we can all please look at that when we are planning and just really have a conscious idea of what we're going to do to get people out, because fire will come. We will see fires. And it's just a matter of that road, single lane, with the amount of driveways and the amount of traffic that's got to come out of Rescue and Highland View and Sterling Chart, all these little places that we don't even think about that are way back there. I've been in it. I know I expressed to some of you before where Highway 50 was shut down for I think like a 2-hour SIG alert. That's what they call them in LA. I don't know what they call them up here, but so Green Valley was the only parallel capacity, and that road was at a standstill. Standstill from Safeway, before Safeway was there, Safeway to the light, to the second light, was 2 hours. 2 hours just to get that far. It was a gridlock. It was backed. So again, that's my message tonight.
No, that road, you have vegetation on both sides. I think we've had 2 fatal crashes out there this year on Green Valley alone without, you know.
And it's got, all these, the driveways that are all at skews and, they have limited sight distances and it was all grandfathered in. I get it. It was all, but there's very limited right of way to do any widening.
Yeah.
So I don't know, we've got that drop off on the right side that goes right down into the riparian area that, how do you fill that? I mean, even if you had the right of way. So so I'm going to be talking about
suggestion.
that. And So
Thank
thank you and congratulations.
thank you very much.
I would hate to say this, but I believe all of our roads, in case of an emergency, will be packed and no one will be able to get out of here. Okay, including Latrobe, okay? And I will say for the fire department, all the way in the back, I did have someone come from the fire department to Four Seasons to talk to us about what we would do in case there was a fire, and how they basically wanted all of us to stay in place until the fire department came and took us out. Okay? And we do have that code red, which also shows streets and whatever. All of us should be on code red on your computer in case of an emergency. And I want to talk to some people in the fire department about a fire safe council. Each community can have a fire safe council where the community sits down and they talk about things that they have to do in the community to make their homes as fire safe as possible. And when you have one of these fire safe councils, which are approved by the fire department, we have a good chance of getting fire insurance, homeowners insurance. All of it counts. So we should think about all of that. So sorry I jumped in, but I just wanted to mention that.
sorry.
Fire-wise in our neighborhood and three of the neighborhoods are now, so we're really, everybody's motivated. And I encourage everybody.
Yeah, if, just to pile on, the Lake Hills Fire Safe Council is just, an enormous success in terms of what they've accomplished and how they've organized. And, they're always willing to talk to other groups to see if they could do something in their areas or just support them even without a fire safe. Are you leaving to come up to help us? Okay, yeah. So, but I also know there are other, like, where I'm at on Bass Lake Road, it's the oddest thing because I'm across the street is Rescue, up the hill from me is Cameron Park, and I'm in El Dorado Hills. But the Fire Safe Council, the Greater Cameron Park Fire Safe Council goes across Bass Lake Road almost to Serrano. So there are a lot of pieces, a lot of people are working, but it's a lot of work. And I know you can talk a lot about that.
Yeah, and I don't want to overtake the meeting with the topic, but it is timely and, having the supervisor of public safety background is perfect. But I'm Mike Langthal, I'm the fire chief here, interim fire chief as of the 31st. So happy to be in that new position and definitely I've interacted with so many of you in this room over the years. It's like a bunch of friends, but I did want to clarify one thing in terms of evacuations and getting out of your house in terms of big fires like you're seeing in Southern California. We did deploy your El Dorado Hills firefighters are on the front lines in the Eaton fire right now, currently going house to house with homes burning everywhere, just as literally like that. So really devastating fire. I think the most important thing you could do in the moment is make sure you are signed up for the evacuation notices that come from the sheriff's office. So ready.edso.org. So write that one down, ready.edso.org. Please go on there and sign up for the alerts. So go to your cell phones. You can register multiple phone numbers. And then that's the most important thing. We know that if the fire is moving quickly in the wind, we're going to pull the pin on a large evacuation much earlier than we would in a non-heavy day, just like they're doing in Southern California. So there's lots we could talk about as far as hardening your home to fire, but what's most appropriate just in a moment, just ready.edso.org. So sign up for the alerts and then you'll get the notices and just have confidence that your emergency responders in the county, the sheriff's office, fire, and everybody else, we're going to pull the pin and get you out of your house early if we know the fire is moving your direction, and then you just need to follow those orders when they come. So I could take over and talk a lot about it. We've got a big meeting here, but if you have questions, I'm happy to answer them too.
And we might call on you and Chief Fields to come and talk to us as we're looking at development projects and the impacts. So,
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Greg.
Bob, I know you're out there. There's a microphone
I'm
floating
just
around.
going to make it very, very brief. I won't try to take it over like Greg just did.
Oh my,
Sorry.
that's my job.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just did two quick points. First of all, a message from, sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
My message from Supervisor Turnbull, now in his new role as chair of the Board of Supervisors, he wanted to let you know that contrary to what we've experienced at APAC in the past, that many of your reports have just been ignored by staff. He wants me to assure you that they will not be ignored in the future. It doesn't mean that staff, Planning Commission, and the Board of Supervisors may not decide not to embrace what you say, but they will be reviewed and taken into consideration, so your work is not going to be ignored. Yes, absolutely, and be published, certainly. And I can assure you anything going before the Planning Commission will be in the future. So we're going to assure that does take place. Now, tomorrow, shifting to my role as a Planning Commissioner, tomorrow at 7:30, I take my oath again for another 4 years.
Thank you.
On the commission. I echo Greg's comment about the TIF fees. I was very much on record last year before they got approved that the basis of the TIF fees were really never explained. Nix's reports were certainly never presented to the Planning Commission for any kind of review, even though they had an ability to take it before the Planning Commission. That what you're going to find when you really look at the basis of that, it's based upon a 20-year projection of traffic needs in the county. And those 20-year study, I think, needs to be challenged and reviewed on a number of bases, not the least of which it assumes that the total growth in the county over 20 years to 2045 will be less than 1%. That most of the growth will take place in Diamond Springs. That, well, I could go on. Other than the fact that the basis of their numbers came from Caltrans and CCOG and nothing that we had really internally. So as I stated back to the supervisors last year, that junk in and junk out gets you, again, more junk in and junk out. And so I think there'll be some time and need to really take a look at that, the basis again. Hopefully it will not bring to a screeching halt some of the other activities that happen. We need to have a balance here. I agree that full-heartedly that infrastructure must be paid up front. I think that's what the general plan has already stated and will continue to state. I do know as a planning commission over the next 2 years, we're going to have a challenge of having to reevaluate and propose a brand new general plan. So anything we move forward has to be done in that context. Any proposals for specific plans also have to be looked at from that same basis. What is that going to help? How is that specific plan going to impact anything that might evolve with the general plan going future? So I guess the message is that I think we have a new attitude on the board of supervisors, a good opportunity to reset a number of things. And I think there are good people with good motivations, both on the board and the planning commission and the citizenry, that we can make this happen.
Again, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for re-upping for another 4 years. It's a tough job, and I know you spend a lot of time at it. And as a member of this board and the public, I want to thank you. Before
Two-way
you,
street, yeah.
all right, Craig.
Just one more quick thing, and I meant to say this earlier. You got my word. I am reading all your reports. I've been reading them. Okay,
I
John's
know
been
that,
sending me
yeah.
everything, and I've been reading them. Doesn't say I'm going to agree with you, but I'm going to consider them. There's no doubt, because I did hear those rumors that the board doesn't read them, and I can't speak for the other board members. Sounds like George is going to, but I intend on. I learned a lot from you guys, and I appreciate it.
So, you know, the dialogue is the most important thing, right?
We discovered with staff, quite frankly, admitted to us in a number of meetings that they say, "Oh, it's another APAC report. Let's just throw it in the can," and it was never reviewed, never brought forward, never submitted as a public comment, and that's unacceptable. And hopefully, it will never happen again. At least during my watch, and probably your watch also.
Can I just ask you one question? They're doing something on White Rock and Town Center West this morning. Do you know what it is? 35 cars, lots of guys in a tent. Okay, I don't know, they're opening a fairground. All right, the other thing is, Carson Crossing and White Rock, right on the corner. Are they following an old permit, I should say, for building another assisted living long-term care?
It is, yes, that's my understanding, that that's part of the original plan.
Okay,
But I will circle back and report back to you.
all right, I've seen those plans like 4 years ago, I think.
Oh, yeah, we saw them
Yeah,
like 8 years ago too, but,
all right, thank you,
but they
Bob.
was kind of at a standstill. Sure. And then I got one online after you.
So, he's gonna hear me tomorrow anyways. But so everybody else knows, because we were just talking about problems with evacuations and roads. Besides Green Valley, Pleasant Valley is a fire trap. And you guys are gonna be reviewing Diamond Springs Apartments tomorrow in the planning commission. And they wanna make it a ministerial project. So that, I think all of us should be even more alert in those two main arteries and all of the things that are going up and down and the lack of capacity for that. And so I just wanted to share, since we talked about fires and evacuations.
See you tomorrow.
Yeah.
So we do have one online with a question, and that would be Mike. Do you have a comment? You should be able to go ahead and unmute. There you go.
Yes, I am trying to hear what's going on and half the speakers are not using microphones, and it's just a mumble. So it's kind of a waste of time to try and watch one of these meetings online because the participants are not participating in such a way that the watcher can understand what's being said. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. We know it's a struggle with these microphones. You really have to, they're for the online part of our recording. They didn't do anything in the room. And I've heard a tale from the fire department. They're looking to spend a lot of money to update it to really be a community benefit in terms of how the AV will work in this room. So we're grateful we're allowed to use this because otherwise we'd be trying to figure out how to do this ourselves. So, Bill.
Thank you, John. I just wanted to say on behalf of, well, everybody, my congratulations to Greg Ferrero. And welcome, welcome, welcome to the team. You're going to do a great job, Greg. I know that. And I say that certainly on behalf of not only myself, but my son Keith, who you know very well. All right? Okay, that's all.
Thank you, Bill. Okay, well, I gotta go back to driving while we're talking. Sorry, gang. Moving along. The next opportunity, we have no guest speaker tonight, technically. We have a couple of housekeeping items here for APAC matters. Last month, we talked about our media guidelines in a working group that we had with some of the officers about how we could, I just jump forward here. What our goals were was how we communicate more consistently with the community. We know that newspapers are tough. Most people don't subscribe to a newspaper anymore. Our newspapers, the Mountain Democrats, 2 days a week, and I still find it valuable. I subscribe, but they can't deliver the paper to me. They have to mail it to me. So it's really not news by the time I would get it. But it is still valuable because it's still reporting and it's got information. But so we still want to leverage stuff with the newspapers, but we talked about a lot of different options with social media because that's just where people consume their information. Primarily Nextdoor, which could be volatile. Facebook is volatile. Twitter, we're not, I want to say we're not going to do TikTok, but because I'm not dancing for anybody. But
Thank you.
you're very welcome. But we talked about the things we want to do is that we want to present like our subcommittee findings, status updates when we have them, and we put them on our website, but people, you pretty much have to deliver them to people nowadays for people to look at them and consume it. So we talked about things like agency responses with the county or other public agencies to our findings, tracking the votes at the Board of Supervisors. I'm winking at our District 1 Supervisor. But the Planning Commission, the Zoning Administrator, all those things where we could say, hey, these are what our findings were. This is what the community kind of supported. This is what the vote was. And then that way you're informed and, you know, if we need to take more community action, and you can take that with you and do what you do. At APAC, you know, our charter has always been, we just do the review, we provide our findings, and then we try not to advocate for or against, or we're never going to litigate anything. That's not, we don't have enough time to do the review that we do. So anyways, this is something we talked about doing, and some of our audience, of course, would be residents, obviously, but we'd like to engage with HOAs more so that they can share that information that we, if it's not from us, but we're sharing it from the county or from an agency. And then we talked about Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Nextdoor, local newspapers, TV, and radio. So we talked about last month, and we made an announcement. We were asking for people who wanted to volunteer to maybe help us with our social media messaging. And we're still looking for more people to help, but I want to thank Bill Knox because Bill jumped in right away and volunteered to help us. So I hope you're ready to work. But so what we need to do as a group is that we're going to sort of form our guidelines for how we want to implement it, and you know, so that it's successful for you to go ahead and do it. All the messaging will be approved by our executive committee, all the officers. And we just want to be consistent, and we don't want to inundate people, but we do want to make it available. So one of the other things we talked about was the second email list. So we have the one email list. I hope you're all subscribed. And that's primarily the only thing we ever send out is our agenda. So we would probably do a second list and ask people to opt into that to just receive more frequent messages. And if you don't like it, you can turn it off. So is there anything I'm missing on that? I want to thank Bill again.
We'll have to, we thank Bill. Bill in the past has helped to run the Four Seasons Thank you.
You get in trouble. Yeah.
Bill in the past has helped to run the Four Seasons newsletter. He was an important reporter and editor for the Four Seasons newsletter, and I anticipate he'll do a great job with this. So thank you, Bill. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm not sure what I'm thanking everybody for. I'm just kidding. I'm really looking forward to this. Thank you.
Called disappointment. So, so moving along with that, the next item on our agenda tonight, I wanted to give an update. Last month, we had confirmed the fire department. Again, you know, they provide this to us free. This is a room that we meet in, and they provide all the AV equipment. And, you know, we're very grateful for that. We've had a lot of support for several years now, being in this room. But we did have a request from the fire department. We had to set December 10th as our December meeting. It's only 11 months away, so settle down. But the Santa Run next year is going to consume 2 weeks here in probably parts of this room, and they had asked if we can move it back. So we're meeting in December 17th, so we could bring our stockings to hang by the fireplace while we're here. But we're always willing to accommodate. You know, we reserve an entire year at a time, and they make it available to us. So we're very grateful for that. And I did want to remind everyone that, you know, we have some of our firefighters down there right now in Southern California, and they respond all over the state. So we're here in their house tonight, and I just want to I should also point out that Debbie Manning is now a member of the board of directors for the fire department. Congratulations, Debbie, and thank you. Thank you for doing that, and also thank you for letting us use your house. So that was the update on that. Now, when it gets to projects, less of me and more of someone else is a good thing. We have an update on the Creekside Village specific plan, and we've talked about this at APAC for many years as you've followed this process through. But George Carpenter from Wind Communities is here tonight, and George is here with an update. I'm going to drive the presentation, and George is going to tell you everything you need to know. Thank you, George.
Thank you, John, and members of the APAC board. George Carpenter from Wind Communities. And thank you, everybody, for coming tonight. There are a number of elected and appointed officials here, and I really appreciate you taking the time to come and hear our presentation. I've been before APAC on this project for, probably coming on 5 years now. And so it's good to
I think 2017.
Yes, in fact,
Yeah.
actually, even before our property was de-annexed from the business park in 2018, I've been talking about this property. And so tonight, what I wanted to do, we've made some pretty significant revisions over the last 6 months. And so what I wanted to do was come to the APAC and daylight those to you so you know what we're up to, give you a little bit of an idea on why we made the changes, and then also a little bit on our schedule and the process that's going to be going on from here forward. So if I get the next slide. So not everybody has maybe seen our presentation before, and so I wanted to just show this slide. I've showed this many times, but just to give you a sense of where the property is, it's at the southern end of the El Dorado Hills Business Park. In 2018, the Business Park Owners Association voted about 90% to de-annex that property, and the thought at the time, I think this thought still is, there's plenty of land in the business park. There's an oversupply of land, and so there's a better use for this property. Just to give you like some orientation, you can see on the map exhibit, there's John Adams Academy. And so this is south of that. That's kind of the last developed area there. And so the next slide, I've also shown this slide before too. And the two slides together show how the property is located between Blackstone and Heritage, how the lot sizes that are represented by similar lot sizes are the same colors here. And so you can look at this map and see how the housing types of what we're proposing are very similar to what's being built in and around the community. The other thing is that we were really trying to highlight when we first did this proposal was the connectivity and how our project sort of links the Blackstone and Heritage communities together. Get the next slide. And so this was the land plan that we had been working on since 2023. And the yellow colors represent basically low density housing. The darker yellow in the sort of middle area are medium density housing. The greens represent both parks and open space. There's a trail system. And you also see a little red area there. There was a community commercial area that we had been working on. But over the, probably coming around about in the middle of June of 2024, we ran into a couple of constraints that we realized we really needed to address in our land plan to make it viable and make it something that we could still build. And so if we could go to the next slide, there were four main things that really drove us revising the plan. First is impacts to the school district. We're located in the Latrobe Elementary School District boundary, and they have two small schools that are south in Shingle Springs, on Shingle Springs Road, but they have limited capacity, so they could not accept a number of students from our project. And our original project had about 920 homes, so we would have generated somewhere between 200 and 300 students. There's just no way they could handle that capacity. So we said, well, what about expanding the existing campus? Well, they've got site constraints there, both, well, mostly infrastructure site constraints that really precluded that as a viable option. We explored maybe moving our property into the Buckeye School District, but that didn't really seem to work for either district particularly well. And so we said, well, what opportunities do we have here? One thing would be to have less lots, and that would generate less students. And we also knew that at the time there were traffic impacts on Latrobe Road. We understand that there are concerns about congested intersections and road segments. And so we started thinking about, well, what would it mean if we did less lots or did a different kind of project? And so what we've talked with the school district about is reducing the number of conventional single-family houses to a limited number to 150, and then build the rest of the project out as an active adult. That way it wouldn't generate students. At the same time, while we're considering the local traffic impacts and building an active adult community generates about, an active adult home generates about a third of the traffic impact as a conventional single-family house. The third thing is sensitive resources. As we were going through our EIR process this summer, we discovered, well, our consultants discovered some tribal cultural resources on the site that had not been identified previously. And so the tribal governments that are interested in this area got involved. And so we've been working with them to come up with a land plan that satisfied their requirements. And so as we were looking at this, trying to figure out, well, what's the housing mix and lotting going to look like? It came to a realization in the summer that we probably needed to look at redoing our plan to address these constraints. And so can I go to the next slide? And so we then came up with this plan. And can you advance it one frame? It should bring up some red. Yeah, and so what you see here on this map is the circulation pattern's pretty similar to what the original plan had of 900 units. But this plan here represents about 155 less homes. And the area that's in aqua, that's kind of on the top side, those would be the conventional houses. About 150 units would be there. And we would max it out at 150 conventional houses. The red area would be an active adult community. And can you hit the button one more time? And this shows you the location of the gates, and it would end up being a gated community. You'll notice that there are some new open space areas within the plan, and I'll address those in just a second. But the overall, the gist of this land plan is instead of being about 920 homes, it'll be about 755 homes. And it will be 150 will be conventional, and about 600 or so will be active adult in varying types of active adult. So now we could go to the next slide. What's important about these numbers is with the numbers dropping and us going to mostly active adult housing, we have about a 59% reduction in the daily trips. So we went from about 10,000 daily trips with the conventional single-family housing project to about 4,000 trips with our new, what we're calling reduced impact alternative. Somehow the PowerPoint got a little funky there, but what's at the bottom of this is I just wanted to give some context. The R&D uses that are planned on the site in the general plan have about 23,000 average daily trips assigned to this property. And so this is a pretty significant reduction in overall trips from the property. And that was really the most important thing I wanted to make sure people understood. One other thing I wanted to talk about is we've been through the APAC traffic subcommittee before, talking about our original traffic study. Our updated traffic study is currently under review at the county, but what we'd like to do is have an opportunity to go back through the traffic subcommittee to dig into the details, do a presentation like we did before, show you what road improvements we think may or may not be required, where the impacts will be, those sorts of things. So we'd hope to do that again in the future. If we go to the next slide. So fixing some of these constraints that I talked about was a little bit of a puzzle. You look at the two-dimensional map, it kind of says, okay, you know, you move this there and you can make things work. But we had to really dig in with our planners and engineers, because this is a three-dimensional site. And some of the areas here, we needed to be able to draw on for dirt fill material, because our site is not flat. We have to pick up about 100 feet of grade from Latrobe Road on the east all the way to the west side where the Heritage Project's being built by Lennar. And so on the left side here, you see our original tentative map. That's the black and white exhibit underneath. And then the red is the new configuration. And then if you compare that to the exhibit on the right, then you'll see what the new configuration is. And there's two things there. Right there where John has the arrow, that is a site that is going to be set aside as non-disturbed. And that is an area where there's been some tribal cultural resources identified. And so we're going to gate that off and avoid it and not impact it. And then also along the drainage, which is the dark green area, there are some sensitive biological resources and tribal cultural resources that we're going to do a complete avoidance of. And so that's why you see our trail and kind of that cutout coming out of there. I don't know, John, can you see where that is? It's like a little U in that exhibit.
Oh, right here?
Yeah, right there.
Sorry.
Yeah, so that's where we've moved our housing and pulled it back and eliminated a number of lots in those areas. So anyway, I just wanted to see how we had to pull some of these apart. I'm not going to go over every little revision to the land plan, but this was a pretty significant one that really caused quite a bit of work to figure out. And we think we've been able to put something together that still meets like fire department requirements for ingress and egress, and it meets our grade requirements for DOT, those sorts of things. And so if you go to the next slide. So that work led us to this layout right here that we're calling our reduced impact alternative. And it's pretty close to what we had before, but it's what we've developed now that we're going to be moving forward with. And there's a couple other little highlights I want to talk about on it, just to point out, because there are areas of the questions that people have raised before. So if you could go to the next slide. The area that has been the darker yellows on our map for quite some time, we called it medium density housing. We got a number of questions about it and whether it was going to be apartments, was it going to be affordable housing? And we've always said it's going to be single family housing, but since we were working on updating this land plan, we went ahead and lotted this out so that people could see what it was actually going to be. And so the tentative map will include subdividing this parcel, and we originally showed it as 250 units, but now we're going to be down about 149 units. And the reason for a lot of the reduction here is because we're going to active adult, we have to go to larger lots because they're all single family. And so that's been one of the reasons that we've got reduced density. If you could go to the next slide, and this is just to give you a sense of what these look like. They're single story, small yard, low maintenance. They're not a common lot size that you see in El Dorado Hills, but they're very popular for people who want to move down, smaller house, and less maintenance obligations. So next slide. Another area for questions was this little commercial site that we had on our corner. And the questions kind of range from both sides. One was, what kind of uses are you going to have there? Are there going to be lights? Is there going to be a lot of 24-hour noise? And then some other people were like, well, hey, we'd really like to have this here. Can you start this? Can you start your project with this? And so what we've kind of come to is we are going to make the underlying zoning in that area park. But what we're going to leave the ability in the specific plan to come back and do commercial uses with a use permit down the road, so that the site-specific impacts like noise and hours of operation and those sorts of things can be evaluated once we know more about the kind of overall build-out and timing of development of this site. So what we're doing is we're keeping the commercial, but we're going to just add another level of entitlement. part of that is to address concerns from neighbors who live on Avanti and want to make sure that we're being responsible neighbors. So the commercial's still going to be there, but it's going to have the underlying zoning of the park. And one other thing, we've had a couple of questions about the parks in this project. All of the parks are planned to be private parks, except for this one here. This one we don't know for sure. We are not in the CSD's boundary, but we know the CSD may have an interest, and so we've left the option for it to be either owned and operated by a homeowners association or the CSD, left it both ways so that we can work with the CSD to see if there is something there that works. The next slide. And so we've made a couple other revisions just on the local site circulation. I put the red dot here because we get a lot of questions about the intersection of Latrobe and Royal Oaks. And
That's okay.
and at that intersection there is a plan for a signalization there. Lennar is responsible for building that signalization as part of their current project that they're building at Heritage. Once they get to their 333rd building permit, they're supposed to be under construction on that stretch and of the road all the way through our property and the signal. And then if they don't do it for some reason, then we'll build a signal as part of our project. The other change we made was to improve some circulation across from Avanti Drive. There's going to be an entrance to our project on from opposite Avanti Drive on the east side of Latrobe. And instead of having a kind of just a straight shot through there, we've added like a traffic calming measure where we're going to have a 90-degree into our site. And so if we could go to the next slide. And so one of our original goals was to have a plan that had good open space, good connectivity, good parks, trails, the kinds of things that people really want to see, community amenities, things that people who live on both sides of the project can take advantage of. And so this exhibit, we just really wanted to try to highlight that we've maintained the trail, maintained the parks, and really tried to maintain a connected project. We went up a ½ acre in parks overall and down a ½ acre in open space, just kind of from the net kind of land use perspective. Then just the next slide is just some of the exhibits we've shown before, and some of these here. Park, no lighting is proposed on this, and so this is stuff I think folks are pretty familiar with. If we go, I just have two more slides here. One is I wanted to explain the process because this is one area where the CSD gets involved. And this slide maybe looks complex, but a lot of people in this room know how this works. On the left, there's the proposed project. There's technical studies. There's what they call project level analysis that goes into the EIR. The EIR is then out for public comment and eventually goes to the Planning Commission and Board of Supervisors for an action. In that EIR, there's often multiple alternatives, like a no project alternative, an existing zoning alternative, a reduced density alternative type of thing. And so those are what the other three options are that are at the top of that screen. And those are usually given just a qualitative analysis called an alternative level analysis. Here, we're going to take the reduced impact alternative, which is the plan I've been explaining tonight, and study that at the full level of detail too, so that our original proposed project, for which the EIR has been almost completely done and is ready to go, will be presented to the board and Planning Commission and the public. But what we'll do is we'll have this reduced impact alternative that'll show the smaller project. And if we're able to have we've got the school district, which has approved a school mitigation agreement with us. We are able to bring along the tribal cultural governments and with respect to the cultural resources and with the rest of the community, then we're going to get behind the reduced impact alternative and make that our project, present that to the board, and tell the board that's what we want them to ask. And so the last slide here, one more, John, is the schedule. This is the other thing that I know APAC gets involved in is wanting the ability to be able to review the project, make your comments. We were trying to get staff to give us a commitment on when we think the 45-day review period will start. The best we can say is the springtime. And we're happy to communicate with APAC when we get a better feeling of that. People who come to APAC know I'm here every month, and so I'll just keep trying to keep you up to date on that. And what I hope to do is work back through the APAC subcommittees again, so that when it comes to the 45-day review period, you've already looked at the technical studies, you're familiar with what we're proposing, how the reviews went, and it's a much lighter lift for you at the end. And with that, I am happy to answer any questions.
Could you go back to the big map?
Like that one?
Yeah,
That'll work? Okay.
yeah. Question, where are your bike and pedestrian paths? Where are you going to put them?
So on this exhibit, can you see the yellow dashed line right there that John's running his cursor down? That's good. That's going to be a multi-use trail that's going to connect from Latrobe Road all the way down to the future regional 30-acre park that's south of Heritage.
Is there any way to connect your bike and pedestrian paths to the old railroad line? All of you, especially Heritage and the other developments, coming very, very close to that property. And I think it would be a great selling feature and a great boon for the community if people could get to that particular, you know, railroad line and then it was developed.
I appreciate that point. I can't sit here and commit to you that. But what I can tell you is where our line ends is right at the northeast corner of that 30-acre regional park. And I believe that park has an easement across its northern boundary for future right-of-way, which could theoretically then run all the way out to the property west of it. And, you know, if the land rights can get secured, I think that's something that's doable.
I think that would be really a great resource for this community and also a great, I'm going to call it a selling point for all the people that want to build projects here. Can I ask you, that block that you said that you're not going to touch, what are you going to do with that? What is it?
That block where the cursor is right now is
Yeah.
actually going to be a park. The block that's farther to the west that's green,
Oh, I'm blind. Okay.
yeah, right there, that we're going to put just fencing around, and it's just going to be left as open space with the homeowners association or somebody else responsible for maintaining it. We'll set up a funding source, that sort of thing.
And where are your gates going to be? You said it's going to be a gated community.
It is. John will help me out there.
Where are we? Right there.
Yep. There we go.
Okay. Last question from me.
Okay, and I have one more thing for
Okay.
you too.
We got to write this down. The last one.
The other thing is, you know, the whole movement now is to put people on bikes and e-bikes and all that stuff to go shopping. Are you doing anything on Latrobe to make it safe for people to ride a bike, to ride an e-bike, to go shopping, for example, in town center?
I don't know how to answer. I don't know that you can make e-bikes safe. Yeah. Okay.
You have a microphone back there, so
It's the road from where the yellow dotted line goes to Latrobe. And in between Latrobe and the residence you see there in Avante, there is a paved trail that starts right there at that intersection and goes all the way north, all the way up to EID. And there is a project in development right now in the business park that is talking about adding to the north end of that trail, going up a little bit farther. So it will almost get to town with very little work as long as they put the yellow part in.
I know it ends at the water treatment plant.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and they're talking about extending it north, the other project across the street.
There still should be something on both sides of Latrobe that would provide a safe path coming and going on Latrobe. Okay, and push now in California, you know, they have a program where they're giving away e-bikes if your income falls under a certain level, because that's how they want people to travel today. Okay, so I think you ought to think into the future. When I told the fire department, Mo that I traveled, I took a bike on Latrobe. He says, John, please don't ever do that again.
That's existing right now is about 50 feet off the road. It's about, I'm gonna guess and say it's 8 to 10 feet wide, paved. It's about as safe as you're gonna get going both directions.
I've been on it.
Okay, good.
I've been on that road.
John, on your point on tracks, building a trail on the
Yeah.
tracks, on the March meeting, we're going to have someone from the Friends of the El Dorado Trail come and present to
All
us
right.
a vision for that hopefully will tie into.
I've only been looking at that for 10 years now.
Well, you'll get an update on. in March.
Baby steps.
And if I could just ask, address one more thing with Mr. Asler, where you see going into the business park, there's a road that runs.
Want to go to the other one or?
Okay.
So that road is going to be an emergency vehicle access, but is also going to allow pedestrians and bikes to get up into the business park. So people will be able to get in and circulate around there.
Would that go near John Adams? Is that anywhere
It
near
will
the
go
school?
right past the intersection. John Adams is at, basically Robert J. Matthews and Investment, and it'll go right past that.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
I think you planned this out very well. I like your idea of having a section for active adults. And just remember, active adults use a lot of the fire department ambulance services, and you may have to supplement them for each time they send an ambulance to help those active adults. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we had conversations before about maybe see that in this plan. Is that off the table now?
I would not say it's off the table. I would say we've talked with John Adams about that, but we have not been able to figure out a solution that, we just haven't been able to figure anything out yet, but it's not off the table. We're still looking at that.
I would volunteer, I'm gonna get right to Bill after this, is that, when we say that George and Wynn, that they've been at this for quite some time, I think before you got the property, it was 2017, talking about it. And then I think we sat down about that time frame. And then for the last year with our standing committees, the environmental standing committee and the transportation standing committee, that you guys were talking a lot. And so that's appreciated because we don't get that with a lot of projects. So I think that we're sort of ahead of the game with this project in terms of what our volunteers are seeing and their knowledge. And with these changes we're seeing tonight, more to learn, but I think that we're in a better position to have these discussions and get that feedback to you. So thank you for that. And then you're ready right here?
I am, George, good presentation. Thank you very much. My very quick question is you referenced early on about daily trips. Could you please elaborate what you mean by daily trips?
Daily trips is the calculation of the total number of trips that leave our property and come back to our property in a single day. And it's one of multiple measurements to determine the impact of a particular land use on the road network that's around it. Sometimes people use morning peak and afternoon peak. And in trying to give an apples to apples comparison, I use the average daily trip number. But our traffic study addresses average daily trips plus the morning peak and afternoon peak.
Are there other questions in the room?
Yeah, I had a question.
Wait, there.
How
the
many
microphone
did you
back
say
there?
you're,
Okay, good.
is that me?
Yes.
Yeah, go.
Oh.
Didn't see you.
I can hear you.
How many, on the amended plan, what was the final unit total? 700 or
763.
763? And, I'm not as familiar with this project, but I do know the area very well down there where the location is. Is there any offsite traffic infrastructure improvements for this that's generated by this project, or maybe cumulative projects for the Latrobe Road going northbound when you have a single lane coming in right there where it ties into Highway 50, a single lane where it all bottlenecks, where it,
There
there
are
any-
plans for improving Latrobe Road. There's a segment that's planned from about where the wastewater treatment plant is south to, I can't remember the exact cross street, but to widen it from 2 to 3 lanes. And then from the third exit to the fourth entrance is a plan to widen it from 2 lanes to 4 lanes. And so there are lots of plans out there for widening Latrobe Road. Some of them we're going to be maybe responsible for, maybe not. We're still looking at the traffic study to see where that shakes out. I know that there are people in this room who've been trying to get a project called the Latrobe 72 in, which is the entrance 3 to entrance 4 into the capital improvement program, so that the county will build that. And we're certainly supportive of that effort as well.
so that was, and I appreciate that. My question was specifically where, you know, the 1 lane comes into right there at the intersection, White Rock, Latrobe. It's further north of your project, of course, but that size of a project generating that level of traffic, already that's a bottleneck. Already that is a, I don't want to say a failed intersection, but pretty close. Got lights where you get your traffic that comes into that intersection and it's dead stops. You have to wait for 3 cycles to clear that intersection. And if any of you, I used to commute it daily to Rancho Cordova, to the TMC, commute it daily, so I know it very well. It's a failed intersection. So this level of project has APAC, does APAC know if the county is requesting, oh, thank you.
Adjacent to the interchange?
So there is an active project to update the US 50 interchange there, adding 2 more through lanes and 2 turn lanes for the entrance onto eastbound 50. So that should take some pressure off that intersection.
30 years.
No,
No.
they're getting the final plans together now. They hope to put it out to bid sometime this year and hopefully start construction next year.
Thank you. So yeah, we have a meeting recording with, I think it was this time last year, it was probably January, December, and then we had an update, I want to say summer, about a little bit of an update on where they were percentage-wise with the project. So those meeting recordings, I'll find the links and let you know what they are.
But DOT is committed to, once the plans are finalized, they'll get them to us and we'll be able to put them on the
Yeah.
website.
And now, do you have the talkie-talkie? Okay.
Hi, George. I want to say your company is one of the most transparent companies and developers I've ever seen in this area, for one, would keep us informed. I live in Heritage, and the new Heritage, at the southern entrance, they have a gate. Is that gate going to be connected to your project?
Good question. Thank you for that. That is going to be the end of the gating, and Royal Oaks, from that point on where that gate is, all the way up to Latrobe is going to be open. And we're planning it to be a public road. I don't know who's going to be building the houses. The way we're setting it up into different villages could allow multiple builders. But when somebody takes an active adult project, it's usually one builder. And so, you know, but it's really hard to say at this point. You know, we have different sections of it on different sides of the street, that sort of thing. So it's kind of hard to know. But we did break it up into phases.
Anything else in the room? Oh, you ready? Oh, do we have a microphone? Thanks. Oh, while you do that, I'm working on the camera.
I'm George. Great. I was looking over here at the map, the color coding. The orange lots are 45 feet wide.
Yes.
And is that unique to this development in EDH, or is that common? I'm just trying to head off comments.
Yeah, 45 by 105. I think we did a 45 by 105 feet deep. That's a pretty standard lot for more compact, but really traditional single family housing. So it's not going to be unique. It's not going to look smaller than some other houses that, it's gonna look in a traditional kind of neighborhood for you. You're gonna see the garages in the front doors. The landscaping now isn't what it used to be. So, landscaping is gonna be, meeting the water efficient guidelines, that sort of thing, but it's gonna look pretty normal.
Just to follow up to that, so on those lots, will all the houses be single-story houses?
Everything, yes, we're
Okay.
planning everything is single story here.
Okay, great. thanks.
I'm sorry, everything that's in the active adult part of the community that was in the red, the stuff that's in the light blue aqua, that will likely have both a mix of single and two story.
Anything else in the room? Okay.
John, I think we have one more.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Hi, John. Sorry for
I see
interrupting.
Mark's waiting in line too online.
Okay. Hi, my name is Stephanie Jansen. I'm representing the El Dorado Hills Community Services District this evening with some board members behind me. I know that there's some history here relative to that parkland that you had mentioned, and I appreciate that. I think there was some action or activity that took place, I think around 2021. We certainly have some new board members here. I know that I'm new to the organization, and I simply wanted to mention that we're interested to hear more about, it doesn't necessarily have to occur in this meeting per se, but interested to hear more about, we understand that this is outside of the district boundaries relative to the CSD, but are interested in understanding more about that piece of land and sort of that question mark around the CSD may have interest and sort of what your understanding is of where we are at that juncture would be helpful to me. It's nice to meet you and thanks for the presentation.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Happy to sit down with the CSD and the reps and talk to you about it.
Well, then I will ask Mark if you want to unmute, if you had anything to chase Stephanie with there.
Thank you. Mark Hornstra, General Manager, El Dorado Hills CSD. Stephanie pretty much preceded my question. One note, it's difficult to see the maps, and thank you for the detailed presentation. How much total parkland is in your current plan as far as acreage?
Yeah, we're about roughly 15 acres.
And then of that, that square block in the middle would be considered private. And how many acres is that?
That's 4.4 acres.
Okay.
So I think we did our Quimby calculation. I think we were asking for 50% credit on the private parks that would be behind gates and then 100% credit for what's outside.
And the Quimby calculation was done based on age restricted homes for those 600?
Yes.
Okay. Those are my questions. Thank you very much for the presentation.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, George.
Thanks,
Yeah.
everybody.
Well, we're kind of getting done early. Well, thank you, George, and we look forward to learning more about this as this moves forward. Again, we've been very engaged with it, and you've been a very good partner in the community talking about what you're looking at and what you're considering. So, again, thanks for taking time to be. You're here every month. You could probably be on this committee, but thank you for being here for that, and we appreciate the update you provided tonight. So, I'm trying to see where I left off. I'm almost there, gang. I'm almost there. Oh, here we go. Sorry. I'm going to throw this back up on the screen. Let's do this fast. Okay, just some very quick project updates. There's no new notice on projects that we've been looking at. There's no updates that we've received, but there was a new pre-application submitted to the County Planning Department. And a pre-application, obviously, it's not an official project yet. They're just looking to present the project to the county and then get some feedback from the Board of Supervisors through the J6 process, where they present to the Board of Supervisors, and then the board gives them some feedback, and that lets the developer know, oh, maybe we want to change this, maybe we don't want to change anything, maybe we don't want to do the project. So this is a pre-application. It's called Sienna Ridge Lot Subdivision. It's pre-application 24-0013, 10 acres proposed for 24 lots. It's currently RE10 for Ranch Estate. The rezone would be required to put it to R1, which is sort of the standard residential development, 1 acre or less. And then they would require a specific plan amendment to the Basilic Hills specific plan. And there's not a lot in this application. It is posted on our website under residential projects. So the red dot in this Google map is roughly where it's at. It's south of the Sienna Ridge Shopping Center, which is at the top of the map. And it's along Sienna Ridge Road where it branches off from Bass Lake Road, but technically right around Hawkview Drive to the east of Bass Lake Road and south of the Toll Brothers development there. Hidden Ranch used to be Bass Lake North, those 90 homes there. So it's right there. See if I can give another, there we go. And right now, all it's on, there is one structure on the property right now. It's not clear what will happen with that, if it will stay or go. They don't have any proposed tentative map yet in their submitted documents, but basically the address they submitted is for this. It's either a modular home or a mobile home, and it's a 10-acre project. So it'd be just to the south of the Hidden Ridge development, right off of Sienna Ridge near Hawkview Drive or Road. And that's the only image that's in their application. So we just included that here. So as we hear more about this, we'll invite them to share any project updates that they, based off what they hear from the Board of Supervisors on their J6 presentation. We talked about this last month, but there weren't a lot of members or there weren't a lot of attendees. It was Christmas. So Silver Springs Estate, another pre-application. Their application indicates it's in Eldorado Hills Rescue. It is rescue, but since it's against Eldorado Hills, yeah, we take a swing at it. The application states it's in Supervisor District 2, but the Board of Supervisors supervisor map says it's a District 1. So anything that's on the west side of Silver Springs is District 1. So they're talking about, it's 52 acres, and they're talking about 27 home sites or subdivision lots. And again, this map is goofy. It's the left is the north side of the project, so it's turned on its side. But it's basically south of Pleasant Grove Middle School and where the high school owns 60 acres, I think 60 plus acres, right there to the north of it. And this, again, these maps are real hard to see, and they're even harder on this screen. And I'll jump across, and this is sort of what the overview of the lot as it's existing right now. The middle school is up here on the north, Green Valley Road, right here in Silver Springs, comes in at the signalized intersection. High school district properties in between, and theirs would be here. It's not part of the Silver Springs development from 1980, forever, 1980 something. I might have been in high school. But this is, you know, it's an owner that's looking to do something with this property. So again, it's a pre-application, and that's the general map of Silver Springs. The existing Silver Springs is this small corner here, and these other lots that are undeveloped yet below it. And there would be on the west side of Silver Springs Parkway. So here we go. Let's wrap this thing up. If there's no questions about those, we'll just remind everybody, if you have public comments you'd like to submit to us and you can't be here for the meeting, you can submit them the Monday before our Wednesday meeting date, and we'll try to get them get answers for you. The advantage of submitting them in advance, we can ask applicants or guests that if they could find the answers for us and share them at the actual meeting. We have an email address. It's on our website as well. It's edhapac.comment@gmail.com, or you can just send it to info@edhapac.org. And then our next meeting, believe it or not, February 12th, it'll be at 6:30 p.m. right back here in this room. And we do have a presentation from Friends of the Eldorado Trail that's scheduled for that meeting. It is February, right? This is January? Yeah. Yeah, okay. So, and
same one as Marble Valley.
yeah, and then Marble Valley and Lime Rock Valley. I talked to Kirkbone. They have some updated transportation analysis, and we're trying to schedule a meeting next week. So the transportation committee and a couple of the officers will go and see what that's about and see what's changed or what impacts they've uncovered. And then we'll have that, Kirk will be here with his team to make that presentation to us. And then in March, we're going to hear back from Town and Country Village, El Dorado, their super cumulative transportation impact study, which is all the projects that are wrapping their arms around the whole thing. The Mohana group went and did an analysis of all of it, which I believe the Marble Valley group is basing their new updates on. But it's a good hard look at all the projects, including maybe Costco, what the impacts are and what maybe some of the mitigations could be. So they wanted to be here in February, but they weren't available on our meeting date, and they'll be here in March to make that presentation. So lots of exciting stuff to come. You know, these are all projects that had desired to have their projects before the Board of Supervisors in December of 24, and obviously that didn't happen. So a little bit of breathing room for us. So with that, unless there's any go backs here, no. Let's be adjourned. And it's not even 8 o'clock. So how reasonable is that?
This is a monumental before
My first one before 8. Maybe 17 minutes.
You know, honestly, I've been working on that.